Alrighty. Well, I have what is a pretty dark video for you guys today. This video is not really for the faint of hearts, but apparently this video, what is in this video, Invader Zim apparently was used in a court case at some point, a long time ago. But I wanted to know why this was. This was recommended to me by a dedicated follower of mine. Was it named Asuna? And let's see what happens in this video. Leave a like, subscribe, and let's check this out. This is going to be insane.
A criminal case became a media sensation after it became linked to a popular Nickelodeon cartoon, Invader Zim. But did this deranged kid really take inspiration from the show or not?
Looks, maybe.
There are a lot of crimes over the years that have been blamed on TV, music.
Honestly, it could, maybe or maybe not. I mean, people draw inspiration to things, but I don't know, man.
Movies, video games, you name it. But how often is a TV show actually mentioned by name in a high-profile criminal trial? Well, that brings us to today's story. Today we have the story of a young man named Scott Dulesky. Scott was born out in San Francisco in 1988 to his parents Kenneth Dulesky and Esther Fielding. Scott had a somewhat tumultuous life from the get-go, with his parents separating when he was only 2 years old, leaving him to be raised by his mother alone. He and his mom moved around from place to place for the next few years, mostly throughout Northern California. Once Scott got into 6th grade, he and his mom moved out to Lafayette, California, where they began living with some family friends. Scott started
for what it sounds like, they didn't live out too well.
attending the public schools in the area. Early
So
on,
that
he
there
was
would have a
described
lot of
by his
issues.
teachers and classmates as being a nice, well-mannered kid. He played baseball and even became a Boy Scout, being a member of Troop 224. After a while, it came to be known that Scott and his mother were now living outdoors in a small shack. For years, they lived without electricity, heat, plumbing, or any running water at all. Scott was only able to shower about once a week if he was lucky, usually having to do that at his mom's friends' houses. Scott's father eventually got word of all of this. Concerned for his son's safety, he decided to call Child Protective Services on his wife. Twice, actually. Once in 1994
On his wife? Wait, they were still legally married?
for general neglect, and once in 1995 for emotional abuse. On both occasions, CPS failed to even go out and investigate his claims at all. Eventually, Scott went on to high school. Acclane's High School in Lafayette, California, to be exact. By now, Scott started dipping into conspiracy theories, and unfortunately, this would go on to damage his social life. Mainly, he held the view that the September 11 attacks were actually carried out by the US government. At the time, the situation was still fresh, and his classmates didn't take too kindly to it. Scott was thrown into a full-blown tragedy in 2002 when his half-
Yeah. Given how early that this was, oh yeah. I'm not surprised that he had that conspiracy. A lot of people have that conspiracy as well. Is it far fetched? To be honest with you, like not really. I mean, there's a lot of things happening, but I mean, there have been crazy things done. There are a lot of crazy things executed by the government. So, could this be one of them? Probably. I can't wait for the X-Files to come out. What is it? If there's if any more details ever come out in the future, that'd be crazy.
half-sister was the passenger of a car in a major accident, losing her life in the end along with the other passenger. After this sudden loss, Scott's personality and demeanor took a hard left turn. His family continued to change as well, with his mother marrying and divorcing twice and his father finding a new wife.
Yeah.
Scott's
it's
personality
not going
change
well.
was pretty evident to all of those around him. He became, to put it simply, an early 2000s goth kid. As one of his classmates
Sounds
put
like it.
he started wearing like dark clothes and eyeliner and stuff. He became goth, satanic. He wore a black trench coat to school every day until the school told him he couldn't anymore. As you know, after a certain incident, trench coats in schools became a bit frowned upon. A friend of Scott's said that he would often read a satanic Bible in the lunchroom. Mainly, it seems, just to get a rise out of people. This friend said, it was like a Charles Manson type thing. He shocked people in a negative way. He was an instigator. Another friend said, I always thought he
That was the vibes I was thinking too. I was like, yeah, I think he was kind of go with that Manson. Was it Marilyn? Is it Marilyn Manson or something like that? type of look to
He
it.
was trying to get attention, but he seemed like a nice guy. It was around this time that Scott got into Invader Zim, as all goth kids do. It kind of comes with the territory.
It
Invader
really
Zim is an
does.
American animated science fiction dark comedy television series that originally aired on Nickelodeon from 2001 to 2002. But it really became a cult classic after the reruns aired on various other channels and DVD sales boomed. Zim, and probably more his robot partner Gurr, became a staple of goth and emo culture around the mid-2000s. Most episodes of the
This is
show
true.
consisted of Zim, an alien, getting into shenanigans on Earth while pretending.
Here's the thing. That's very true. Like with Gurr and all that, or with the Vader Zip. Yes, it was very popular with emo and scene and all that stuff. But I mean, this was early on, so the scene wasn't even a thing yet. But yes, it very much was back then.
To be a human child. Scott took a profound interest in one particular episode, an episode called Dark Harvest. In this episode, Zim realizes that if he were to have a medical exam, the doctors would notice he didn't have a human anatomy. So he decided to steal a great amount of human organs, gorging himself until he was basically a ball. Scott joked around with, apparently, several different friends
Yeah, I
about
remember
how this
that.
episode caused him to have a fascination with human organs, saying that he wanted to remove them and dissect them. At least they thought he was joking. Scott went on to drop out of school completely, getting a degree similar to a GED soon after. He didn't stop there, though, deciding
It's like a
to study
morbid
hard at
curiosity
the
sort of
Valley
thing.
College in Pleasant Hill. It was around this time that he got a girlfriend as well. The two would really play off of each other, engaging in more and more concerning activities over time. They got pretty big into drinking absinthe, a highly alcoholic drink that causes some people to claim they hallucinate. While plastered, they would discuss Jack the Ripper and other serial killers. The two got really into sadomasochism and often talked about the violent things they would.
For anyone out there, here's the thing. Even dysfunctional people can find other people of such similar or same dysfunction. You gotta remember, these people find each other. And if you don't, what is it? And hopefully you don't find someone that is this amount of dysfunctional. But if someone like this can find someone similar to that, you can find someone similar to you. You know, whatever it might be. Okay. Don't worry about it too much, man. It's lonely out here.
Would like to do. For example, breaking the necks of kids. They also talked
fun.
about how they wondered how the human body would function if certain organs were removed. Scott truly began to experience hatred in 2005 when he was 17 years old. This was when his neighbor, actually named Karen, ran over his family's dog. The dog was rushed to the vet, where it later sadly passed away. Karen said that Scott was simply very, very angry. He flat out told her, "You won't take responsibility for this dog." Karen asserted that the dog was neither in a fence or on a leash and that the entire thing was not her fault. Scott disagreed. The very last thread holding Scott's sanity together was severed on
This'll
October
end well.
12th when his family once again went through another change, with his father divorcing his new stepmother. 2 days later, Scott's neighbor Karen noticed that somebody had used her credit card to buy about $2,300 in lights used for growing weed from an online store. And then, only 1 day after that, Scott would go on to commit
he
an
was
act
growing?
that would change both his life and the lives of many others forever. October 15th, 2005. Scott entered into the home of one of his neighbors, that
What did? Yeah.
a
Okay.
somewhat
No.
famous lawyer
Never mind.
named Daniel Horowitz and his wife, Pamela Vital. Scott entered into the front door.
Dude, the escalation of this is insane. Like, it's just getting more and more and more. I'm just like, bro, this is gonna. This buildup is gonna get crazy.
Of the home. It's speculated that he intended on robbing the place, possibly to buy more equipment for his little weed farm. It's believed that, in the middle of the act, Pamela returned home. Scott most likely panicked at this moment as he struck her over the head multiple times with a blunt object. After she fell to the ground, he took it upon himself to carve a symbol into her back while she was still alive. This symbol has since been described as, quote, a Gothic signature. Shortly after, Scott's fascination with organs took hold over him. He stabbed her in the stomach, removing her organs while she was still alive, possibly in an attempt to see how long she could survive without vital organs, as he had discussed with his girlfriend. He then fled the scene. Pamela's husband Daniel returned home to find her body only a few steps from the front door. He then called the police. The police were actually already investigating Scott's friend, a boy named Robin, who was telling them all about a little credit card scheme he was in the midst of that was going to acquire him some weed.
Bro, just like they've been. It's such a crazy situation. You find your wife basically disemboweled. Yeah, no. What is it? The fascination of doing all that with what is it? I'll be honest with you. That wasn't Invader Zim's fault. I'm gonna be honest with you. Even though yes, like they kind of went there, But here's the thing about it is like it's supposed to be a dark show, but here's the thing. All this was this man's thought process. I mean, I grew up watching Invader Zim as well. I did. And did I want to do those things? No. But clearly this person with a very demented mind wanted to do so. It's not the show's fault.
Growing equipment. This investigation led them to Scott, who had apparently been the one who had stolen the credit card information that they were using. When they came across the boy, 5'11", 110 pounds, he was covered in scratches all over his face and legs. Karen, the neighbor, soon came to realize that the person who used her credit card was listed as Scott's mother, with the shipping address listed as Daniel and Pamela's home. It was confusing to her, to say the least, but she figured that Scott was attempting to get back at her for running over his dog. After a few days, the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office was searching Scott's home. There they found 2 laptops, a desktop computer, knives, and a duffel bag. The very next day, Scott was formally arrested and charged with murder, to be tried as an adult in the death of Pamela Vital. His mom was accused of helping him dispose of evidence, but she wasn't charged due to agreeing to cooperate with the prosecutors. Everything pointed towards Scott being the killer. You had the credit card fraud, the knives, and the scratches all over his body that were consistent with the struggle. Oddly enough, though, Scott's girlfriend would come to say that a lot of those scratches were actually caused by their bedroom activities.
I'll be honest with you, that makes sense.
Nevertheless, Scott was thrown
Yeah, I was
going to
suggest that too.
He was actually set up with an attorney who represented the driver of the car that killed his sister. Naturally, this lawyer was quickly removed from the case. After he was given a public defender, Ellen Leonida, and went on to plead not guilty. Due to the sensationalism surrounding the case, the court issued a gag order involving anything in the trial, the first one in 40 years in this county. The investigators came to believe that Scott and his friend were looking into becoming marijuana growers, in their closet actually, with Scott being in charge of securing funding. They said that this led to the credit card fraud and eventually the murder. Scott's friend agreed to testify against him and was given immunity. He said that his role in the scheme was merely finding out what kind of equipment they needed. He dug up websites, sent the links over to Scott, and he took care of finding out how to buy them. Prosecutors think that Scott had made a mistake on the order form when he sent the equipment to Pamela's home instead of his own. He might have even thought that...
What's crazy is that it's interesting that they don't really have access to any of that, but I'm pretty sure by then the Patriots Act was already enacted, so don't you think they will already have they could have gotten access to those informations already? But I don't know. Maybe it was just different back then.
That it was Karen's home, being that he used her card to make the purchase. Scott was slapped with an additional charge of first-degree residential burglary in addition to his murder charge. He once again pled not guilty. His lawyer stated that he was actually a gentle kid who valued both human and animal rights, claiming that people were merely prejudiced against him due to his gothic clothing. The prosecutors went on to detail the murder to the jury, especially the symbol carved into Pamela's back, which they said resembled the letter H from the word hate on a bumper sticker that Scott had in his bedroom. The coroner described the symbol as an H-shaped figure cut into the skin of the posterior torso, and 3 intersecting superficial incisions forming an H-shaped pattern with extension. It was said that it resembled the Cross of Lorraine, which looks like this. During the trial itself, Invader Zim came up as a topic of interest. The prosecution claimed that, partially due to the Dark Harvest episode, Scott had developed an unhealthy fascination with images of body parts. They claimed that the episode may have motivated Scott to go out and take some organs himself, saying that it might actually have been a bigger motivator than the burglary. The people who defended Scott said that his comments about Invader Zim were only a joke, not something he ever meant to be taken seriously. Nevertheless, the mention of a popular cartoon in a murder
I don't know
trial,
about that, buddy. I don't know about that.
Culture threw the media and the internet into a frenzy. The prosecutor called several people up to the stands, including Scott's friends, his housemates, his mother, a forensic pathologist.
Wait, what? This man had housemates? bro. Like, I mean, maybe they were doing better, but from what it sounded like, it doesn't look like they were doing that great. But I don't know. I mean, maybe hey man, what is it? Maybe they did more better, cool. But clearly, with them doing a lot more better, that man still led in a very much more darker path. So yeah, there's that, man. You know, even people that could do financially well doesn't mean that they're gonna do mentally well. Sadly.
A DNA expert, and perhaps most interestingly of all, Scott's girlfriend, Jenna. Jenna, visibly very uncomfortable, told the jurors that Scott didn't admit the killing to her, but didn't deny it either. She noted that, without admitting to the crime, he said he would take the fall to protect her and Robin. She kept her eyes to the floor as she spoke, telling the court about all of the disturbing things she and Scott had talked about in the past. The court, and anyone following the case, took most interest in the comments involving human organs. The prosecutor began to question
Yeah,
Jenna,
I would too. But
asking,
like, what the hell?
"Did you consider Scott to be a sadomasochist in September and October of last year?" To which she responded, yes. She asked if the two experimented with pain, which resulted in another yes.
Yes.
She continued, "Did your threshold of pain change with Scott? Did it go up or down?" To which Jenna replied, "It went up." Jenna ended by saying that all the statements they made about killing kids and stealing human organs were, in her own words, hypothetical. DNA evidence showed that Pamela's blood was found on Scott's belongings, namely the ski mask worn in the murder. His DNA was found on the bottom of her foot. Shoe prints at the scene matched Scott's shoes. A to-do list involving the credit card incidents was found in his home. It wasn't looking too good for Scott, who remained emotionless during the trial. After a little over a month of a trial, the attorneys each gave their closing arguments. At the end
Oh yeah, what is it? If that man's expressing his zero emotion and things like that, oh yeah, man's a psychopath, 100%. I understand like there are certain things that you can't really make expressions of, which is true. What is it in a court case? But I mean, if it was just like stale face the entire time, yeah, I think there might be something off, just a little.
of the summer, Scott was found guilty of all charges against him. First-degree murder, the special circumstance of murder in the commission of a first-degree residential burglary, first-degree residential burglary, and an enhancement for using a dangerous weapon. He was later sentenced to life in prison with the
Enhancement of
possibility
using a
of parole.
dangerous weapon?
His lawyer
What?
begged the judge to at least give him a chance at parole after 25 years, saying, "Scott Dulesky made a terrible mistake. There is always the possibility that he can mature into a responsible, productive citizen."
No, my guy, because you want to know why that is? It's because what is it? What is it? One, what is it? He stabbed. What is it? One, what is it? He stabbed a woman, carved initials in her, and proceeded to disembowel her. I'm sorry. No, you throw what is it? You throw him in a cell, seal up that cell with the brick. What is it? With the brick wall, and let that be done. Okay. That is not someone who is going to be adjusting to society at 0 point, okay? That's a fucking psychopath.
In 2009, the case was reevaluated, but the Court of Appeals upheld the conviction. They noted the cruelty, insanity, and senseless mutilation that took place throughout the murder. It wasn't some sort of normal burglary gone wrong.
No, was it?
He took his time and eviscerated her while she was more than likely still alive.
It was a hit.
But
He did it out of
almost
vengeance.
a decade to 2018. Scott's sentence was actually reduced from a full-on life sentence to 25 years to life. This was when a new bill was introduced that gave juveniles tried as adults who were sentenced to life a new chance at freedom. This will make Scott eligible for parole in 2030. Now, this has been the standard telling of the story that is most widely believed. But the truth is, a lot of people still believe that Scott is innocent. There are entire websites dedicated to providing reasons as to why. In 2023, some evidence came to light that showed that Daniel Horowitz and Pamela Vitale had somewhat of a rocky relationship. It's been said that Daniel was even prone to anger and violence. He was said to have been having an affair at the time of the murder as well. Scott's lawyers also point out that the house was thought to have been locked and that a key would have been necessary to get in. So far, nothing has come from these claims. We'll have to see if that changes. Since Scott's trial ended, several petitions have been passed around to try and free him. None of them have been successful. To this day, a rumor...
Really? There have been petitions trying to free him. Okay. Did you read the same case of what's been going on, or at least what happened? Because I'm just saying, there's nothing of this guy that would say, "Oh, what is it? What is it? He didn't do nothing." I'm sorry. He did something, and it was horrific.
Rumor still circulates that Invader Zim was cancelled, either partially or in full, due to this crime. Once again, thank you for watching my video. This has been one I've been meaning to cover for a while now. If you found the video interesting, please give it a like as it helps me out in the algorithm, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more like this. I also have a Patreon account, which I always keep linked down in the description below. There you can see videos early, ad-free, and uncensored. Speaking of which, shout out to the top patrons.
Hell yeah.
Rabid Snarf, Royal Pain in Ass, Kylie Jeffers,
Pain in the ass. Lex Luthor, George Lopez. Oh man, I mean that's actually pretty plausible.
Tracy Farrell, Jada.
That's really
this has
it,
been
huh?
your host Kyle. Thank you and good night.
Alrighty. Damn, I won't lie, that is one crazy crazy thing. But bro, like, yeah, like here's the thing. Even though you know some medias and things like that could try to blame Invader Zim, or not even Invader Zim. Well, in this case, oh, I've heard about this. Yeah, the Beavis and Butthead trailer fire. Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, yeah, man. It's like it's all these things where it's like, nah, man. Here's the thing: they could try to blame the show all they want. It is very different if the show's like, yes, do this. You must do this. You have to do this. They'd be very different if that was the case than just simply this person watching a show that that just goes into that topic or whatever. At the end of the day, it's all in the individual. And as you can see, like the breakdown of this person's life, it's not surprising either that he kind of fell into this into this dark disabled like mindset, um that it will essentially lead him to this. I mean, you know, and what is everything that that was explained of like his childhood is like, yeah, I'm not surprised that this kind of happened, or at least like his mindset was this, because it's not exactly great of for someone who is that young to experience that that much amount of things. um because I'll tell you this much, there's quite a bit of people that I've seen where they had to grow up when they're just small ass kids, and they're just, I mean, some of them can be okay, but man, I've seen others. They're just not, what is it? They're just not right, But kind of like this guy a little bit. Maybe not, maybe like this psychotic, but a little bit out there. But anyway, all you guys have a good one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This one was definitely out there. But man, definitely psychotic. And for the people trying to do petition releases, man, I think they got to be researched to 100%. What is it? They need their hard drives to be, what is it, to be looked through and all that stuff, and their own personal messages. But anyway, all you guys have a good one. Yeah, what is it? And hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, hopefully I don't know, get more subscribers. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, have a good one. Peace.